Hey everybody, this is Joe. Thank you for watching my Giga Texas construction update video.
Well, welcome back out to another Friday. It's the 9th of August, 2024. And even though production is not going today, it is still very busy with vehicles, especially on the west side, some on the southwest side, and over on the east side. And most of that has to do with Cybertrucks. And as you can see by a few of these images, there are a lot of them stockpiled, especially over on that west side. And it looks like they're getting ready for a big push for sales. And that may be related to the fact that just last night, the Cybertruck Foundation Series was opened up to anybody that would like to purchase it on the design studio for Tesla's website. So you don't need, at least in the United States, you don't need a reservation to place an order for the Foundation Series. Also, the Foundation Series was made available to customers in Canada and Mexico last night as well. So I think that's great to see that it's opening the markets and it's going to give more people a chance to purchase the Cybertruck. And finally, we also saw that they are now giving test drives for the Cybertruck, and you can sign up for that on Tesla's website or through your app. And I think that all of this is an indication that the Foundation Series is getting close to being concluded. And I think that's great news, especially for people who would like to purchase the Cybertruck but not pay the premium for the Foundation Series. So anyway, a lot of changes going on here with the Cybertruck, and you can see that at the factory with the number of vehicles out in the lots and also with the changes to the program. There's a lot to see with the site itself today. We'll do that in the video, and I will talk about some of the things that you'll see. As always, thank you very much for your support. I do appreciate it. I hope you have a great weekend, and let's get into the drone. Let's see what Giga Texas looks like on this Friday.
If you would like to support my efforts, please consider using these links, which will be in the video description. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons on my YouTube video, as this helps as well. Thank you. My drones are ready and raring to go. Let's go flying over Giga Texas. Good morning from the southwest corner of Giga Texas, directly over the Cyber Pond. Let's take a look at what is going on in this part of the site today. Now, this clearing has a lot more vehicles and equipment. We also see some generators on the right-hand side of the screen. The crane is active, moving materials up to the roof because there is a lot of roof work being done today. And as we zoom in, get a good view of the activity that is going on inside this opening. And there is not only a lot of materials, some scaffolding it looks like, but there's also this large center structure. It has, looks like mezzanine floors, some plywood walls, a elevator that is a construction elevator, and some more items. So it's interesting to see how that is taking shape on the inside there. Now, as we continue to maneuver over towards the west side, a few things to point out. We do see this truck with a hose going up to the roof section. I'm not sure exactly what that is for. As we zoom in, we can get a good view of a lot of the equipment and items that are here on this floor. Also, if we look past those wooden crates, we can get a good view of that platforms and scaffolding in the middle part of the structure that we saw through the other opening. And then on the center upper part of the screen, next to where the workers are going up the stairs, there's like another room on the inside with a lot of ducting being set up. And although it's hard to tell, I'll zoom in, the boring tunnel is still having some work done around the opening. In addition to that, they have some of those kind of silver wrapped ducting on top of that area and some additional work going on inside. Bring the drone back up and look at the second floor and that mezzanine area where the supercomputer cluster is being assembled. It's a great view of what this looks like here today, and also a view out through the windows on the south end. Also that open trapezoidal section, which is directly over that southwest entry. As we look back towards the second floor, good view of a lot of the pipework and ducting that is being used for the cooling system for the supercomputers. More equipment on the second floor here, and some additional vehicles. And then we can see some of the ventilation ducting on the right. As I zoom back out, good view here of some of these black kind of containers on the ground with some round cutouts. That is new. I'm not sure what that is. More of the trench work underneath this part of the factory. It's extending out to the west along where those temporary platforms are located. And then across the road, where you can see the paving has been replaced, is this concrete vault that might be related to fiber optic cable, or it may be related to other plumbing, but is something that is associated with that trench work. Many of the Cybertrucks are being stored here on this side of the site next to this fence, and we are going to see a lot more Cybertrucks later in the video. But for right now, I'm going to bring the drone up to a higher altitude, take a look at what is going on with the roof in this area where we saw the crane lifting up materials. And what the crews are doing is preparing this wall junction between the new extension and the old exterior wall. This will join the roof together to make sure it doesn't leak. I think they're also potentially putting in a fire break wall along the old original wall. And it's a great close-in view of the work that is underway to remove some of that weather stripping, the weatherproof membrane, so that they can install the new junction. Very similar to what you saw on the other angled corner. More of the insulation panels, those gray panels, are being installed above the supercomputer cluster, and we'll get another view of that here shortly. Bring the drone down, take a look at the work that is continuing with these three tunnels. The one on the center of the screen is getting more of the formwork, rebar, and preparation for that concrete to be poured. There's a good close-in view of what this looks like. There is a small retaining wall towards the opening on the south end, and that may indicate that it has a purpose other than emergency escape for the people. So it may, in fact, be related to perhaps water drainage, but that'll be something that we will take a look at as time goes on. This structure has had all of the concrete poured, including the roof. We see the weatherproofing or that moisture barrier paint that's being put on either side. That'll be subgrade. Good view into the entranceway and those angled concrete walls for the exit point. And that roof is actually bowed to some extent. Some of my viewers have asked me about that, and the design apparently does have a slight bow to the roof. The third of the tunnels looks like this right now. They've got most of the membrane that they put on the slab. They've got some of the concrete rebar sticking up out of the concrete, and they'll be preparing for the formwork for this tunnel as well. The southeast corner looks like there's some new earthwork being done here on the bottom center of the screen. This is consistent with raising the grade up on the left-hand side of the screen to the top of the perimeter grade beam right next to the glass. As we continue over this section that is getting a lot of that grade work on the ground, I'll zoom in and give you a great view of the equipment, the pipes, the manifolds, and other activity that is being installed on the ground floor. Good view of those large brown pipes sticking up out of the ground, and two of them have now been installed on those mounts with the semicircular tops to them. As I pan back to the southeast corner of the building, view inside, we can see that more steel has been erected above where those manifolds for the large coolant pipes come out of the ground, and it looks like the second floor is getting more tidied up and more of the interior walls finished out. As I come back onto the roof section, I'll show you where they are adding more of the insulation panels on the gray section. This is directly over where the supercomputer cluster is located. It is a different type of roofing material, and I think that may be because of code, because of the equipment that is installed under this part of the facility. A good view of the Stamping 2 extension, that kind of rectangular area sticking into where the gray wall, the insulated panels are located. And as I continue to maneuver towards the east side, give you a good view looking from the roof down onto the ground of more of the work that is underway here. Bring the drone up to give you an overall view of the south of the building and how it is continuing to transform with all of the work that we saw in close detail earlier in the video. And a look across the cyber pond, the south end, over to that west support facility on the other side of the highway. The lined pond still seems like there's some work being done around where that roadway is. Maybe some pipes are being installed. The glass company materials and their workshop on the bottom of the screen next to River Road's extension. Good view over to the multi-level parking garage and that large clearing on the east side of the garage, which is getting grade work, most likely to prepare for a parking lot in that section. The intersection between Robotic Avenue and River Road continues to be in dirt, and it looks like most of the work is being done around the sides where the drainage system is located. It's a great overall view from the tree line looking back to the west, the entire factory, and downtown Austin in the background. So a really beautiful day to fly and to see all of this detail. Now, as I maneuver back towards the north lot from the multi-level parking garage, just a good view of all the materials that are being stockpiled here. Almost all of that is for the south end. Some of it is that brown coolant pipe that is being installed from that cooling plant under the ground over to the extension. It's a view of the north side of the multi-level parking garage and the number of vehicles inside. Just a reminder, this is Friday, so production inside the factory is pretty low today due to the shift schedule. So we won't see as many employees on the site today as we would the rest of the week. But there is some work on the ground with sidewalks that have been added on that west side of the multi-level parking garage. As we are on the roof, I'll bring the drone back down. I wanted to show you that where all this ductwork has been installed, they've made some progress, especially in the middle section with the kind of safety fences. That section that used to be open has now been finished out, and they have finished the weatherproof membrane. Of course, that is part of a cooling system for a server room inside the body in white section of the factory. As we fly over the parapet wall back to the southeast corner, I'll bring the drone down lower. It's a great view of that cooling plant on the left and the work with all the pipe work and other items underneath on the ground floor. Some trench work on the ground here directly ahead of us, and some views into the second floor as we pass by the temporary staircase on the right-hand side of the screen. That's also a great view of this graded section that we saw earlier. And with this perspective, it's a good view of how much the grade has been raised on the right-hand side of the screen and how this is being tapered away from the building on the left-hand side of the screen. And a good view of the 3 tunnels on the south end and how they continue to progress. The grade will be at the top of these tunnels, certainly by the building, and then it will slope off towards the cyber pond. At the South Bridge, as we cross over River Road, just a check on the work that is being done here for some repairs or reconfiguration of the underground stormwater pipe that you can see in that trench. And as we resume on the west side of the highway, this is what this area looks like underneath the highway and looking back towards the east, and the power station in the upper right-hand side of the screen. Here's a great look at Giga Texas on this early morning from this vantage point. And also, as we scan across the horizon, this is a view of all the various sections of the West Support Facility, from the contractor parking in the upper left and that trapezoidal section that's being prepared, the West Warehouse on Wheels, and the end-of-line and outbound lots. While I'm here, I wanted to bring the drone down lower to show you all of the concrete liners that are part of the road surface inside the tunnels. This has been removed from the tunnel recently, and there's some work that's going on with crews driving in and out of the tunnel today. Why they removed the tunnel segments that were for the road surface that they've already placed, I'm not sure. It's something I'm still looking to see if there's any clues or information that I can get for you. As I zoom in, just as trying to show you the equipment and items that are remaining here on this side of the boring tunnel. As I mentioned, crews are getting materials in and out of the tunnel. The blue tractor forklift is about to go back into the tunnel. We see a workstation with a tent and a few of the crew sitting here right now, and the tunnel face. And we'll see the blue item driving in, and they've been using that to remove those concrete road liners. So the work continues, and I've also was able to see earlier in the video that there is work on the other end of the tunnel opening as well. So that's the update with what's going on with the boring company. So let's go over to the end of line and outbound lot and take a look at what is happening here. Now, even though there's not actual production today, there have been a lot of vehicles, especially Cybertrucks, produced this week. Usually they use today as a processing week to get all of the vehicles ready and then ship them out over the weekend. The South Supercharger lot is reasonably busy, as are the tents that is used by the workers for some of those final checks. And then now we're going to see groupings of vehicles, a lot of Cybertrucks, all over the outbound lot. On the west side, it's a great view of the number of vehicles that are lined up waiting for transport. It's a mix of Model Ys and Cybertrucks on this part of the outbound lot. Many of the trucks waiting to pick up the vehicles. And then on the north lot, just a lot of Cybertrucks have been staged here. We'll be going through processing today and the weekend. And with the announcement that they're opening up orders to Canada and Mexico. Also, you don't need a reservation to order a Foundation series. Perhaps one of these could be yours in the near future. The north end of the end-of-line facility is reasonably busy with some of the Cybertrucks lined up, waiting to enter into the building and then do final processing. And just a great view here looking down at how that operation works. So let's cross over the highway and resume on the other side. The exit point for the Model Ys is not very busy today, which is not a surprise because of the shift change in production. So I'm going to fly up over the roof, over the solar panels, many of the ventilation ducts that have been installed, some of the rectangular ducting on the right-hand side of the screen, and more of the materials that have been stockpiled. And instead, we'll take a look at the east testing and calibration lot, where we see yet again many more Cybertrucks. And the section closest to us from the middle onto the bottom of the screen is Cybertrucks that are awaiting some sort of final processing before they move over to the west outbound lot. The vehicles on the right are employee vehicles that are taking advantage of the free charging that is available for electric vehicles. But a great view of how many of the Cybertrucks are here today. As we get ready to pass over the Cyber Circle traffic circle, I'll get a close view of this ground section that has had all of its preparation work and pipe work completed. On the right-hand side, we can tell that there will be a small retaining wall installed, and then hopefully we are at the point where we'll see rebar and then concrete there. As we continue to work towards the north along the east side of the casting machine structure, a good view of the number of casting racks and castings that are stored, also the baghouse filtration system that is being installed with all of the equipment, and the assembly continues, especially on the ground floor now, with a lot of the kind of tubular type items that are being installed next to that vertical tank. And then to the north, more of the formwork, heavy rebar, and a structure with columns being prepared. On the left-hand side of the screen, in front of that new receiving door, it looks like there are some sort of rails that are being prepared into that heavily reinforced rebar section. That suggests that we may see some sort of device, maybe a gantry crane that could roll in and out, or maybe some other equipment that rolls in and out of that door and uses those rail systems. As I maneuver back, this is just a higher altitude view of the work that is going on the ground floor and the rest of the assembly here at the baghouse plant. So this area of the facility on the left and the concrete apron and rebar work on the right is making a lot of progress, and perhaps maybe in a week we'll get a really good idea of what that slab area with those columns being erected is for. So I'm going to reposition the drone over to the die shop and battery cathode plant, and we'll resume the narration there. On the east side of the cathode plant, and also where the crash test facility is located, here's just a quick view of what is going on here. The crash wall is present in the middle of the open end of the crash test facility. We do see some of the crash tested vehicles on the north end on the right-hand side of the screen. And then the yellow temporary panels on the exterior wall of the cathode plant shows that temporary air conditioning unit with those 4 ducts in operation now, and of course that other one has a small receiving door. As we continue to fly to the north, there's a good view of the wade pit on the bottom of the screen, the offices on the right in those trailers, and it looks like maybe there's going to be some preparation for asphalt in that dirt section with a lot of the water in the middle of the screen. But that's something I'll continue to watch for. The cell testing lab and the brown control trailer. Not a lot of activity here today. On the north end of the cathode plant, 3 of the 5 receiving doors have trailers. And a good view of the west side, some of the concrete wall panels on the ground, some of the Connex trailers, and a lot of the porta potties are stored here right now. As I bring the drone down in lower, we'll get closer to the chiller plant and try to give you some good views. There are some materials on the left-hand side of the screen next to the concrete wall, so maybe we'll start seeing some expansion work. The temporary cooling units and the generators seem to be operational. The pipes, the black pipes that are connected into manifolds into the ends of some of the pipes, with all the water draining out, it looks like that is in operation to some degree. A few of the fans are working. The heat exchangers, pumps, and pipes on the roof look like they may be in some sort of operation, but the vaporizers do not have any frost on them, so that does not look like it's being worked on right now. The die shop has its own tanks and vaporizers in the alleyway section, and of course more materials here that are being used to set up additional workspace and equipment on the inside of the die shop. As we pass the furnace that's located here on the northwest corner, I want to bring the drone down and just fly along the west side of the die shop to see if there's any changes. Unfortunately, it's not a lot of activity today, and the doorway in the left is shut, so not any views on the inside. As I work my way around to the south end, just give you a look at the receiving door, the ramp, and the kind of fence-like structures around the ramp. And also on this southeast corner, the glass has now been repaired. The plywood temporary panel has been removed. And I'm glad to finally see that that work has been completed. So as I reposition up over the die shop, we'll head over to the electrical switch yard and take a look at some of the changes going on there today. Many spools of wiring on the bottom left and in the center of the screen as we pass over this underground vault and two of the hopefully eventually 3 white control trailers. We can tell that work continues with the wiring being pulled through the conduits and the concrete vaults. It's a close-in view of what that looks like. Now these wires are fairly large. They're very extremely heavy, and they're hard to maneuver. That's why they have them laid out in the way that they do. I did mention the spools of wire. There's some additional ones in the bottom left of the screen. And as we continue to fly back towards the main factory over these trailers, I wanted to get a closer view of these concrete vaults. More of the wires have been pulled at least to this point, and a good view of what this looks like. Now it will continue through the dirt section under the wires over to this new structure that is being assembled. And I'll try to maneuver around the power lines and bring the drone back down so you get a good view of how this looks. There are 4 main concrete vaults on the outside, and the center section with the formwork has been prepared to divide the slab into 2 main sections. There are 4 risers of the conduit on each of the far walls, and this looks like we will see concrete here very soon. As I continue to look back towards the factory, I'm going to fly along this sort of left-hand side of the screen. You can tell where there are more of these concrete vaults. The circular holes in the vaults are the conduit that extends underneath the ground in multiple different directions. And one of the directions is in this area where we can see additional excavation with the cone on the left and 2 more of these concrete vaults. And this is where the conduit turns and goes underneath Tesla Road. The asphalt repaving is very obvious where that goes. And as I pan the drone back up, there is work being done on the landscape section, and they have the temporary safety fence around where 2 more of the vaults are located. And all of this is opened right now because they are preparing to pull the wires all the way through from that north section through this area under the ground where you can see the asphalt outlines, and then into the northeast corner of the cathode casting machine structure. Now on the east side at a lower altitude, I wanted to give you just a better vantage point of this work. The baghouse plant, of course, in the upper part of the screen, the heavily reinforced new apron, some of the conduit underneath sticking up through the rebar, those very heavy beams and columns next to the wall, and the reinforced section with the rails. As I pan back and fly towards the north section, this gives you a sense of the number of castings, the rack mount, some of the steel studs on the bottom, and wall panels for work that's going on the inside. And then here where they've added 3 more receiving doors, kind of those tray-like items that slide in and out of them underneath that canopy, and the plumbing and manifold system. Here's those 3 rental industrial cooler units. that we saw on my previous video. And then there's 4 white items and kind of black mounts that have been delivered very recently, possibly today. As we fly along the face of the paint shop on the left and the plastics manufacturing in those 2 large doors, just a quick look at the 4680 section of the building. Most of the work is being done on the inside now, and as far as I know, they continue to build out the production lines, and there should be 8 of those very soon completed, and perhaps with the changes with the dry cathode part of the 4680, maybe we'll start seeing larger volume production here as well. So bringing the drone up to a much higher altitude, a great view across much of the site that we did see today. The West Sports facility is in the upper right, the main factory, the east parking garage and multi-level parking garage on the left, the electrical switchyard, and the Megapack site. As always, thank you very much for watching. Have a great weekend.